You may have seen this young woman dunking in the McDonald's All American game last week or the dunk contest and doing a pull up and putting her feet on the backboard last week at the McDonald's All American week prior to the Final Four. But at the time, she was committed to Tennessee. And lo and behold, all the players from Tennessee were already leaving. She said she wasn't going anywhere, that she was locked in on Tennessee, and every player vacated the premises. I pretty much expected that she would ask for her release from her letter of intent or whatever they sign nowadays to go to college. And then her primary recruiter vacated Tennessee. Apparently, he and Kim Caldwell did not see eye to eye. And then he went over to LSU for like 30 seconds. And then a few days later, he has a job at Central Florida, UCF, and was given the job of head coach at UCF. So he is no longer at LSU. He's now the head coach at Central Florida. And lo and behold, Oliviyah Edwards, the number 2 ranked prospect in the country in women's basketball for 2026, has asked for her release from Tennessee. She will probably get it because just that's how it goes nowadays. There are no penalties for anything. And the question now becomes, where is she going to go? Is she going to make the bold move and follow her main recruiter, one Gabe Lazo, who was the main recruiter at Tennessee, who went to LSU for a second and is now the head coach at UCF? Will she make that bold move to go play for Gabe Lazo over at UCF? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I am your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell. Leave your comments. I appreciate y'all jumping on board. Had a busy weekend of women's basketball with the Final Four, the national championship. Congratulations once again to UCLA on getting the job done in emphatic fashion yesterday. Put out a lot of content. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know some people don't like the things I have to say, but I just don't care. I live in a world of accountability and responsibility. And if all I say is that everyone's great, then what does that make me? That makes me a shell. That makes me one of these puppeteers, these puppets who are controlled by the puppeteers, as is the case with most women's basketball national media. They're all hanging from strings as the puppeteer coach does this and controls their thoughts and controls their questions and doesn't allow them to ask anything of substance. For example, yesterday in the post-game press conference, all these media members had an opportunity to ask Don Staley, why did you not watch the Texas game? Or why did you not take from the Texas game what literally all of us saw? And that was Texas employing a 5-on-4 full court press, which worked for Texas against UCLA. Why did you not employ that type of strategy early on to create havoc and mess for UCLA? Remember, they committed 23 turnovers against Texas. And some people say, well, yeah, they cleaned it up. No, they didn't have to clean it up. They just did what they did because realistically, South Carolina never put any pressure on them. South Carolina let them inbound the ball with no problem, no pressure. And when I mean 5-on-4, I mean Texas had 5 players guarding 4 and left the inbound passer unguarded. So they were double teaming and having 3 against 2 on the inbounds. UCLA was running nothing on inbounds, very, very slow inbound the ball, stuff like that. And that would have been the one question that I would have asked Don, say, why did you not follow what Texas did and run defense like that? And then we get an answer. But we never got the question, so we never got the answer. And that is what the national media landscape is for women's basketball. I am not a puppet. I do not get controlled by puppeteers. So when I do my videos about Raven Johnson or AZ Fudd, and I say this player ain't that good, or AZ Fudd is a role player, or whatever I say, y'all get really sensitive. But this is what life in the NBA is like. They get criticized on a daily basis by national media members. I mean, literally on a daily basis, they get criticized. They get critiqued. They get picked apart. Their diet is picked apart. What they did outside is picked apart. Everything in their life is watched and put through with a fine-tooth comb. So these are facts. These aren't my feelings. These are facts. That's what they go through. And when you want to be looked at as a real sport, that is what will happen in your sport. So when you're I'm not AZ, but Audi Crooks, for example, your weight will become a question. Your eating habits will become a question, just like it is for Zion Williamson in the NBA. But you don't like that. You like your protected bubble for which coaches don't get asked real questions, coaches don't have to ask real questions, and coaches control the media in women's college basketball. You see coaches in college men's ball, they get asked real questions. You see NBA coaches, they get asked real questions. They may not like it. They get snippy and stuff with media because they don't like it. But they have to answer them, and they're going to get asked. And if you're not asking, you're not doing your job. Because all I listened to yesterday was a bunch of bullcrap about how you feel about Raven Johnson and what's going through your mind about this and what are you looking for this. And in fact, Dawn Staley got asked a question by a reporter who asked her about a recruit that is going to USC, and this reporter thought that this was South Carolina, and Dawn Staley said, who? Did I miss something? Do I need to check something? Did she change her mind? Like, the media members don't even know who's going where. They don't even pay attention to the sport enough to know that that girl was going to USC. And the reporter says, oops, my bad. You actually prepared that question as a media member and didn't know what school that girl was going to. That's who covers the WNBA. That's who covers women's college basketball. They don't have a clue, and they are puppets controlled by puppeteers. In the case of this situation here with Oliviyah Edwards, she has decided she wants her release. And I don't blame her. I didn't sign up to go play with a bunch of transfer portal players who couldn't hack it somewhere else. Let's be completely real about this. Most of the transfer portal players are in the transfer portal because they're just not good enough. That is the problem with the transfer portal. There's like a handful, maybe 2 maybe 10, let's say 15. There are maybe 15 legitimate transfer portal players, right? Audie Crooks is one of them. No matter what I think of her, she's one of them, right? Like, you can look right now, there are 865 players who are in the transfer portal as of 9:30 this morning. Of this list, you got one of Florida State who averages 15 a game, Soleil Williams. Interesting. She could be someone that's something. Mind you, FSU stunk this year. You got a player out of NC State, Zamaria Jones, who's 5'7", average 15 a game. You got a girl out of North Carolina, Lanny Grant, who averaged 11. You got Teresa Higgins Jr. out of they got a junior. Who the hell names their what woman names their kid after themselves? That's weird. Never seen a junior for a female, but okay, that's different. So Pittsburgh is losing their entire team, and they got players who did not play, whoever's less than a point, less than 2 points, less than 3 points. But they got two players, one averaging 12 and a half and one averaging 13, Michaela Johnson, Teresa Higgins Jr. But for the most part, the portal is filled with players who barely played. Again, there's a handful. Kimora Johnson out of Virginia is a big one. That's a big one. The coach got fired, and she's like, "I'm out of here," and so that's a big one for them. She might be one of the better players, but she's also an undersized guard. So how much of an impact can she make on a championship level for a team that wants to really compete? I don't know, but most of these players in the portal just aren't that good. They just aren't that good. So what do I want to do as Oliviyah Edwards and go play for a team that has nobody? Let alone who the hell wants to go play for Kim Caldwell when everyone just walked out on Kim Caldwell? Like what player, what good transfer portal player wants to go play there? I don't think there's a player that wants to go do that. This article from Yahoo said, Gabe Lazo's been hired as the next head coach at UCF. He's a proven competitor at every level of the game with deep Florida roots and an elite ability to connect with people and a track record of developing student athletes on and off the court. He has consistently helped elevate every program he's been a part of as a head coach and assistant. He's from Miami. He began his coaching career in 2012 after a brief stint playing in Puerto Rico as a professional. He was the coach at John. He was a coach at John A. Ferguson, which is in Miami, and took them to 2 regional championships and state runner-up finishes. Number 2 overall Florida State ranking in Class 8A. He was spent time at FIU, Stony Brook, and GW. There were questions about his exit from Tennessee. And it says the situation in Tennessee is not the best, to say the least. They've lost 11 of their 12 players, either to graduation or the transfer portal. Add to that, 2 coaches have moved on. Gabe Lazo resigned, while Roman Tubner was fired. There are calls to fire Kim Caldwell after the disastrous 25-26 season. Amid these developments, a report surfaced indicating that one of Caldwell's assistants had undermined her. One of Kim Caldwell's assistants was undermining her the entire time, and that's why the bottom fell out down the stretch, telling the kids. Will West said on 99.1 The Sports Animal podcast, "I don't have to listen to her telling her not to do things she was instructing once she was not there." He maintained that the accusation was not on Lazo specifically, but that he was one of the candidates. I don't know which assistant coach it was, but 2 of them are gone. However, there's a report that says that multiple former Lady Vols have come out and refuted that report. Coach Lazo and Coach Roman were the ones keeping us together. That this is not true. They told us to trust the system. If anything, Mia and Maya Paldo wrote. Kaya Wynn, Dania Praw, Alyssa Latham, Kania Boyd, and Janiyah Barker have said similar things. So there are conflicting opinions, but it is a cloud following Lazo into his new start at UCF. It could also affect his relationship with this new program and the staff he hires. Now, listen, he is still the guy that recruited Oliviyah Edwards. So question now becomes, might she follow him to Central Florida? If she is released, which I expect that she'll be released. And what type of full court press will be put on by teams across the country to try to get her services and add her to their teams? I mean, there are teams that would love to have this young woman. She is obviously one of the best players in America. She's one of the best players in the country. She's a 5-star recruit. She's 6'3". She's out of Tacoma, Washington. I'd be interested to see where she ends up. I mean, heck, maybe she ends up at Notre Dame. Maybe she ends up at UConn. Maybe she ends up at South Carolina. Maybe she ends up at LSU. Maybe she ends up at UCF. Oh, maybe she ends up at UCLA. They have a lot of openings there right now. Whole team is gone, and I expect that Addie Deal from Iowa is going to transfer there. Maybe we'll see what happens. But this is huge news in the landscape of women's college basketball, having a player at this level open at this point. And look, if she's not granted her release, I'd be absolutely shocked. And it could bring on some lawsuits because I didn't sign to play with nobody. You know, you had 4 top 100 players last year. I didn't sign to play with nobody. So where does she end up? It remains to be seen. We'll see what happens, man. This will be interesting, though. I'm looking forward to seeing. This is the drama of college women's basketball. And again, there's a lot going on in the transfer portal, and I will be talking about this as we continue. But yeah, when you look at these players, a lot of these players aren't that good. They just want to find a new home and hope they get an opportunity. And some of them will be left in the freaking hanging in the air and not even get into another school. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Where do you think Oliviyah Edwards ends up? Where do you think? But this is big time. So we shall see, and we will update you as we find out. And that's all for now. This is Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.